Welcome to the complete guide to fantasy football week 12. We're going to talk starts. We're going to talk sits. We're going to talk latest news and notes. We're going to get you fully prepared for this very important week 12. Welcome to the show, Jim. I'm ready to dive into every single position so you guys can lay it out. We got a visual and lay out all the optimal starts and sits. What's happening, man?
Hey, counselor. I'm just looking forward to week 12 here. I got to do some stuff with my dynasty team to make the playoffs. I need some victories. I believe I'm playing you this weekend, buddy. So I'm going to destroy you. I'm sorry. I'm not happy to tell you that, but that's what's going to happen. So
I'm not too fond of that dynasty team. All I drafted is rookies. It's not doing the greatest. I'm looking at more my my regular year league season, and yeah, we're gonna play. Hopefully, I beat your butt this year. This week, and we move on from that league for sure. I planned way too far in the future in that league, so I'm not doing too well in that league. I can admit to that. The dynasty league, not the best.
Yeah, you went too young. Yeah. That was the thing. You traded away some veteran players for rookies. I'm like, dude, I mean, you gotta rookies are great, but you don't want your whole team to be rookies. That's dangerous. So
I went too deep in the dynasty. So
yep.
If you're new to the channel, smash it, tap it, slap it. We're going to talk about some latest news and notes. Again, we're going to go through every position, give you all of the starts and sits at each position, starting off with quarterback and moving on. But where's Breaking Brad here? We want to talk about the latest news and notes.
We now have breaking news.
We haven't heard that intro for a while, Jim. The music with Breaking Brad. I guess he wants to add some music to the theme here. Nothing really in the news. My guy Jake Ferguson. I mean, the only guy I've been really good with injuries this year. Like I haven't had any. But Jake Ferguson's kind of been my Achilles heel, no pun intended. But it's a concussion with him. I think he's gonna miss time. But the Cowboys are a mess, right, Jim? I mean, they're a disaster, that team.
They are a complete disaster, but they kind of look like a disaster from the beginning. I mean,
yeah,
we knew from the draft when they didn't take a running back. Like, what the hell are you doing? You know, and
yep.
You know,
they deserve it. They deserve it.
Yeah. And Jerry Jones, you know, I swear to God, man, that guy just needs to step away. He needs to step away from managing this team because he doesn't know what the hell he's doing, and get a general manager in there that knows how to build a team and can, because there is talent on that team. There's talent. Yeah. They got talent. But I don't know, man. I'm just shaking my head every time I hear about what's going on with the Dallas Cowboys.
Couple other things in the news. Apparently, the Jets are saying that Aaron Rodgers is unlikely to remain the team's starting quarterback heading into 2025. No poop, Sherlock. Remember that whole thing? Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, come on. I mean, it was – the Jets are cursed, right?
Yeah.
I called Aaron Rodgers Plan B because it didn't work out with Zach Wilson. Yep. Aaron Rodgers was Plan B. Then he got injured last year. He's coming off that Achilles injury. He's in his 40s. Come on, man. It was the longest of long shots that he was going to be able to do something. But they're just going to start over. I mean, I don't know. It sounds like a rebuild. They need to find a quarterback. They don't have a quarterback. So
other than that, there's just like people, shoulder here for Elijah Moore, knee here for David Njoku, limited in practice stuff happening. It's nothing. There's nothing here that's jumping out at me that we really got to talk about. I will do another show. I do like the last minute news and notes here. So turn on that bell. Let's just get right to it. But I do want to start with, the people on bye week. There's a lot of, players on bye week because of, 6 teams we got here. We got Falcons, which I've got some bye Jan stock. We got Buffalo, Josh Allen stock. I've got Cincinnati. You know how well Jamar Chase has been doing as of late, him and Burrow. Jacksonville's on bye, the Saints and the Jets. That's 6 important teams, a lot of fantasy relevance in a very important week 12 where a lot of people need this win to push towards the playoffs, Jim.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be tough this week. Your chances are you're probably going to have to start your bad matchups because there's not going to be anybody else available to play. Like your whole bench is going to be on bye. It's going to be that kind of situation. So good luck for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's get right to it here. Start off with the quarterbacks here. I'm going to pull up the optimal starts at each position. Now, Tommy DeVito is replacing Daniel Jones. How bad is Daniel Jones really? Like, he's just terrible. Remember this going into the year, they're like, we want to draft a quarterback, and then Daniel Jones was like, no, this is fire under me, and I'm going to make it happen this year. And Here we are. It's Tommy DeVito, week 12.
Did they say that? Are they mentioned
Yeah, yeah,
Daniel
yeah,
Jones?
yeah, yeah. Tommy DeVito apparently is starting this week. Yes.
That's sad. Yeah. I mean, it's not I mean, it's understandable. I mean, we know who Daniel Jones is. We've
Yeah.
seen him. He's been in the league for what, like 6 years now, 5 or 6 years.
Can't do it.
We know what kind of player he is. We don't. I still don't know why they gave him the extension. I don't know. Um. Yeah. It's a terrible, tough situation there. So, Tommy DeVito, is not better than Daniel Jones.
Well, we're gonna
So
see. We're gonna see. He's got a good matchup. So let's go through that. So if he does start, again, this is what I'm hearing in the news. Tommy DeVito, like that's the word, right? We got Justin Herbert, who's been solid, 20 and 25 points the past 3 weeks. Amazing stuff. We got Russell Wilson, great matchup, coming off a 7-pointer last week. I don't know what happened last week. I don't know. It is what it is. Pat Mahomes coming off an 18-pointer week. Hasn't been looking the greatest, but still managed to put up some points. Jane Daniels has kind of cooled down here, as you can see, 9 points and 14 points the past couple weeks.
yeah, but great matchup. He's playing Dallas. That's a good
Yeah.
matchup, man. I think he's going to do great. And he's at home. He's at home, right? Yeah, he's at home. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Rookie of the year candidate here. We've got Bo Nix. What do you think? How good is Bo Nix? Like the kid's good.
he looks good. I mean,
Yeah.
again, they said he's the most pro-ready quarterback in this class, and it's certainly, he had that slow start, but as a rookie, I think he's developed extremely well. It's not like he has top-notch talent around him either. He has mostly B and C level receivers.
Yeah.
And the running backs are nothing to write home about. So he's doing a lot with very little. So that's great. I mean, I'm very excited to see that. I know that Broncos fans are very excited to see that we actually
For sure.
that they actually have a good quarterback. That's exciting for them. And that defense is lights out, man. And they're playing Vegas. Oh man, it's a good week to start the Broncos defense. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's been doing outstanding. I mean, I can say nothing but good stuff about Bo Nix, looking absolutely amazing the past couple of weeks. And again, he's working with minimal stuff. Imagine they get him an elite wide receiver and they actually work with him and just keep improving him. This is what the NFL is looking for, quarterbacks that actually could get it done. Really, really excited for the young man here. So these are the optimal matchups. If you guys are just joining us here or at this part, the green means really good. Again, you don't want to sit quarterbacks or any player, even though they have a red matchup, if they have been consistent. So we look for consistency when we're starting any of our players. How consistent are they throughout the year, the week, the day, whatever it may be? Jared Goff, great week last week, 38 points, absolutely crushed it. Detroit's amazing. I think they're number one in the power rankings right now. Absolutely amazing team, exciting to watch. They've got everything. There's no void in that team, right, Jim? I mean, they're just solid.
It is solid. The only negative is Sam Laporta is probably going to miss. So
Yeah.
that's a shame. But I mean, what can you say? You can't say anything bad about the Lions right now. They're
Nothing.
killing it. They are killing it, both sides of the ball.
Absolutely.
Looking great. I would love to see them win their Super Bowl. I would love to see them win it because again, they're one of the teams in the NFL that's never won the Super Bowl. I want to see it happen. I want to see him go. And I want
big boost
I
to
think they can do it with this team.
big boost to Detroit. And as you can see here, some middle range matchups here. Will Levis, you got Kyler Murray, Stroud, Geno Smith, Jalen Hurts, all kind of mid-range matchups. Then we filter here by tough matchups versus position. And you got Sam Darnold having the toughest matchup versus Chicago on paper. Jameis Winston, Pittsburgh's been rock solid defense all year. Drake May, Minshew, Stafford, Richardson coming off a hot week. Will that continue? Tougher matchup versus Detroit. You got Brock Purdy, Caleb Williams, Jordan Love, who's kind of been on and off, 7, 12, and 21 points the past 3 weeks. He's kind of been all over the place in 12th hardest matchup versus position. So is there any quarterbacks here considering starting regardless of the matchup, Jim? I mean, Darnold has been consistent, kind of, minus the 2 weeks where we had 9.25 points last week. If you got Darnold, no better option. You still got to start him, I would think.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he does have the toughest matchup of the week. And it looks like, Minnesota doesn't look quite as strong as they've looked in the first part of the season. So I think they're starting to cool off as well. My biggest concern is the San Francisco Green Bay game because both Jordan Love and Brock Purdy have tough matchups. This could just turn into a defensive struggle.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens there, but I don't like the idea of having to start either of those guys this week, although I'd probably feel a little bit better about Brock Purdy right now just because of the talent around him. But yeah,
For
not going to
sure.
be easy.
Never is. All right, let's go here to the running backs here. Guys have a good matchup here. Kareem Hunt. We got Brian Robinson Jr. Great matchup here versus Dallas. Everybody against Dallas has a good matchup. It's so
Oh,
fun.
yeah.
Zeke Elliott, he was just held to like nothing last week. So Dowdle, good matchup versus Washington. What a disaster that team is. And this is what this is what they get. This is what they deserve. You passed up on some great running back talent that could have slid in and been the RB1. And you start these bottom feeders, and here's what you get. I mean, you got rid of Zeke for a reason, and you bring him back. It's crazy. So I'm so happy the Cowboys are struggling. It's hilarious. I think I was reading, I can't remember what the fact was. There's something like they're the only North American team. You know how there's hockey, basketball, football. They're the only team that I think has not won a home game this year out of all the leagues, baseball, everything. They haven't won a home game. That's what I heard. So
Well, that's sad. That's sad for the fans. I feel bad for the fans. It costs a lot to go to a game. And to go to a game and not see your team win, go to multiple games and not see your team win, that's very distressing. So
it's bad, man.
Yeah.
Other optimal starts, Raheem Mostert, odd chain, good matchup versus position here versus New England. We got Javonte Williams coming off a 19-point week, good matchup. Stevenson, good matchup. He's been kind of like up and down. Kenneth Walker, great matchup. James Conner, good matchup this week versus Seattle. And then you've got Tyrone Tracy coming off a 19-point week. And this is what I said, Suckletary here, 4 points, 3 points, 6 points the past 3 weeks. Tyrone is really...
he's definitely taking the back seat in that backfield. So
Of course, because he was never the true one, but people drafted him like he was the one. When has he ever proved to you that he's good? That's why I call him Suckletary. He's not good. Obviously, Gibbs...
He was good last year. He was good last year.
Good
and it's not like you had to take him in the 3rd round. He was like a 10th round guy. So I did take Singletary, but you're right. He's not doing anything. But it's not like that really hurts my team because he was like a 10th round pick. Who cares?
He's a pretender. I don't believe in him. All right,
there's some big names with tough matchups this week, man. Big names.
Yeah, other guys mid-range to good matchups. Gibbs, Montgomery obviously starts here. Aaron Jones, 5-point week last week. Mixon, man, 38 points. Wow, you got to start him, obviously. Mid-range matchup. Christian McCaffrey, if you're curious, he does have a mid-range matchup versus position. Bucky Irving as well. Mid-range matchup versus position. Guys that have it in tough, let's just go right to it. Chuba Hubbard, who's, you got to still start him. He's been consistent the past couple weeks. 29 points last week. 29 points. Obviously, Henry, you got to start him here, Jim. Swift, if you don't have better options, Kyron Williams, you can't sit these guys. Jonathan Taylor, who's been, I think he's over the hill. Taylor's done. I didn't draft him this year, but he's done, right, Jim? I would never look at Taylor again.
I haven't been impressed with Taylor in years, so I'm already out on him. But I just can't figure out. I mean, last year, man, he was going right at the top of the 2nd round. I just don't get it. But whatever. I'm out on him. Plus, he's got to split that backfield with Richardson. So not a good situation.
Yeah, so just for context, just so we're clear here, there's some huge names you still got to start. Chuba Hubbard, tough matchup. Like I said, Derrick Henry, tough matchup. We got Swift, tough matchup. Taylor, tough matchup. J.K. Dobbins, tough matchup. Najee Harris, tough matchup. Some big names here. Saquon Barkley, mid-range matchup. 14th hardest versus position. You got to start him as well versus the Rams. So I'm still starting these guys. If you've got Kyron Williams, who's got the 4th hardest matchup versus position, or Derrick Henry, second toughest matchup versus position for the Chargers, I'm still starting them. I'm not going to sit these guys. You just can't do that. You got to start your running back.
You can't do it, especially on this week with all the teams that are on bye. You're not going to have a choice, and you're just going to have to hope for the best. But don't expect a lot.
Absolutely. You got to start them. So that's running. Again, if you have any starts and sits questions, drop them below. We'll try to get to as many as we can to help you out. I mean, it's a very important, every week's important, but this week in particular, there's some playoff implications, I know, for a lot of leagues and a lot of teams. Okay. Before we get into the wide receivers, this is very important. Wide receivers, tight ends, we're giving you defenses to stream. Make sure you head on over to mybookie.ag. This is the site I use and the site I trust for all of my bets. Go enhance that game watching experience. And I'm telling you guys, for straight up point spread, everything you need. I'm going to give you guys my picks. Head on over to the Counselor's Edge. I've linked it below. You get my access to my picks. It's really going to help you, but this is the account you play on, mybookie.ag. Use code FFC. They'll double your first deposit up to $1,000. So if you put in $1,000, they give you $1,000. It's like free coin. So get in there, guys. Play with the house money, mybookie.ag, code FFC. That's a site I use. And get my picks below, all right? All right, let's go to the wide receivers here. Let's get right to it. The guys that have good matchups here. Don't be a donkey, draft Ladd McConkey, 21 points last week. He's been kind of up and down. And Quentin Johnston's been consistent. I would say we don't even know who the one is here. We don't. I would say Quentin at this point.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the volume of Quentin Johnston, but he has been performing very well. But, again, it's not like this is a high-flying passing offense. So I think both of them are kind of, at best a wide receiver 2, but more likely a flex just based on that offense. But given that it is a really tough game for J.K. Dobbins, the running game, I think we're going to see more passing.
Good
and
point.
so that makes me want to start both those guys. If you have either of them, I'd go ahead and start them. I got no problem with that.
To answer your question, 8 targets, 2 receptions last week. He had the touchdown to kind of inflate his numbers. Ladd McConkey, 9 targets, 1 more target, and 6 receptions. So it seems like from a PPR perspective, Ladd McConkey's still the guy, but you got your, Quentin getting those touchdowns. And he did a backflip. I don't know if you saw it. I think Quentin Johnston did a backflip after that touchdown. The guy's pretty athletic. I didn't realize he's that athletic. He is. He's good. He's athletic.
There you go.
I mean, we got to see us do a backflip, but that would not be good.
Oh no, come on, man.
No.
maybe on a trampoline I'd try it, but
No, I'm not doing that. That's one thing I'm not good at. I don't want to break my neck. It's just not going to look good. So yeah, that's something I'm terrified of trying. I would never try a backflip. If you haven't done it as a young person growing up trying it and learning it, I wouldn't recommend it. Other guys, good matchups here. DJ Moore, what a bust this team has been at wide receiver. And remember how high these guys were going in the drafts, yes. Like 3rd, 4th round picks for like Moore and Allen, and Rome was coming off 5 to 7. It was
and they're playing with a rookie quarterback. I mean, it was just like, I'm like, what are you doing? This is a rookie. He's gonna be inconsistent, and that's what we've seen. And so you don't draft elite wide receivers that are playing with rookie quarterbacks. Just don't do it.
Yeah, it's crazy. We got, who else we have here? Good matchups here. Mike Williams and Pittsburgh wide receivers. Pickens a start here for sure. Calvin Ridley, good matchup versus position. I got him in one league. Hopefully he does well. He's playing Houston. Good matchup. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, great matchup here. But a lot of people are upset about Devontae Smith not getting the volume. Of course, he's the wide receiver too. Another guy that people drafted with high draft capital. That's another thing. I just stay away from these wide receiver 2s in earlier rounds of drafts. Malik Neighbors should be back in action with DeVito. It's going to be interesting to see how much volume he gets this week. Who else is there here? Josh Downs, who's kind of emerged, and not kind of, has emerged as the wide receiver 1 here on this team. We're going to see if Richardson's going to continue doing well. Tyreek Hill, great matchup. I think had the touchdown last week. Good matchup versus position versus New England. And Marvin Harrison Jr., 16 points last week. Not bad versus Seattle. Decent matchup. Marvin Harrison, I'd be curious to see where he ends up on the Concheapsis rankings next year, because he's a good talent. He just didn't get it going. I'm just not. Again, it's Kyler. I think Kyler Murray is an issue, I would think there.
I mean, I'm not. Again, as a rookie, he was very, very risky to be taking in the 2nd round, which is where he was going. I wasn't biting on that. And you could see that those guys like McConkey or Brian Thomas Jr. have been much better values for fantasy this year based on where they were going in the draft, which was like 8th or 9th round versus, Harrison and Neighbors and those guys that were going in the top 3 rounds. It was ridiculous. So just don't do that with rookies. And that was the first time that it ever happened too. Rookies usually are in like the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th round. That's where you'll see them. This past year, because of the high draft capital on these wide receivers, they were being pushed way, way too far up the board. And so if that happens again this next year with the rookie batch of wide receivers, I don't think it will. Just stay away from those guys if they're going too high on the board. So
all right, let's go here. We got Jacoby Myers, tough matchups here. Jacoby Myers, tough matchup versus Denver. We got, who else? We have Demario Douglas and the Patriots receivers versus Miami, tougher matchups. Again, if they are consistent wide receivers, you got to start them regardless. Like Nico Collins, third hardest matchup versus position, but you're not sitting Nico Collins. You're just not doing it. But it's good to be aware of this. Third hardest matchup versus position, as you can see here in the red versus Tennessee. Who else? Jefferson. Obviously, you're not going to sit Jefferson, but he does have a tougher matchup versus position. Only 14 points last week, 10 the week before. Like you mentioned earlier, it seems like the Vikings are cooling off. Could they emerge and start picking back up? Yet to see. And Cortland Sutton, who's been pretty solid the past 3 weeks, 26, 19, and 15. Pretty solid last 3 games. Obviously a must start, but 5th hardest versus position. Cooper Kupp, Puka. Again, both having 2 good weeks. Who is the one here? I would still lean towards Puka.
And I think it's Puka.
Yeah,
Puka's he's making some amazing catches out there. So every time I see him make a play, I'm like, holy crap, he's good. So
they gotta really phase out this Cooper Kupp, man. He's got to go. I don't think he'll be there next year. We'll see. I haven't looked at his contract. Jeudy coming off a 29-point week of his life. Your guy Jeudy. I know how much you love Jerry Jeudy.
Oh man, he had the game of his career last week. Will that continue, or it's just bad matchups for Cleveland this week. So, but again, you're probably going to have to start these guys. So just hope for the best. Close your eyes, hold your nose, and start them.
Look at this disaster here. I mean, tough matchup for Jaden Reed, Watson, and Dobbs. It was Watson who had the most points last week. 10 points for Reed, and Dobbs did nothing. Like, it's kind of like it's wide receiver roulette here. Like, nobody knows who. There's no one here. And this is what I hate. Like, we need to have teams and draft teams where there's a true one. What's this wide receiver committee? That shouldn't even be a thing, but it is.
Yeah, and Reed, Reed is very talented. He can do a lot with a little. So I trust him, but I'd be inclined to sit Dobbs, Christian Watson's pretty good. So I think he's probably good too. But again, it's going to be a risky pick. I see that Debo's got a bad matchup too. On San Francisco. So that's, we already know it's a tough matchup for the quarterback. So it's going to be a tough matchup for the wide receivers.
I still start Juwan Jennings. He's been consistent. 25, 16 the week before. Jennings should be good. Juwan Jennings. Yeah.
Yeah. But Debo's been a huge disappointment this year. So
absolutely. He was another 3rd round pick waste,
Yeah.
And going back to real quick to the Packers, Dontavian Wicks, everyone's like, you got to draft Wicks. You got to draft Wicks. He's the big sleeper.
Right.
I'm like, how is he a sleeper? I mean, there's 3 other guys ahead of him. Dobbs, Watson.
Right.
How would you even go? Why would you even put a wide receiver 4 on your team? And this is what I talk about, right? Like, we're already struggling enough to try to find out who the one is with these 3. And then you add Wicks. Like, come on. Like, it's crazy, man. Some of these Concheapsis ranking analysts, they're out to lunch. So, all right, let's keep going on here. Let's move on to the tight end position. And the tight ends, I'm going to be the broken record that I am. If you got a tight end that puts up points, you're lucky and you're blessed, and just play them. But worth mentioning, just take a quick glance here. Kelsey, great matchup coming off a down week. What happened to Kelsey last week? Again, he's been hot. Like,
he had like 3 30-point weeks in a row, and then he only got like 4 points last week. Yeah, that was crazy. But they're going to game plan they obviously game plan last week to shut him down. The Bills shut him down and just probably double and triple covered him the whole game. But this week he gets to play Carolina. He's going to bounce back huge, man. It's going to be a good game.
Yeah. Let's go here. I mean, Denver tight ends, great matchup, but who are you starting? I wouldn't even start any of those guys. Troutman.
The ones I'd be most concerned about starting, you got Cade Otton against the Giants, Mark Andrews against the Chargers, Dalton Schultz against Tennessee. All those are very tough matchups. And so, man, do you want to start him or not? I mean, Mark Andrews, I would really not want to start him.
Yeah. Let's take a look at those guys that have it in tough here. Like you said, Cade Otton, I'm still starting him. I don't care. He's tough matchup here. Like you said, Parkinson, tough matchup. Mark Andrews, like you said, tough matchup versus Chargers. I'm still got to start him. I mean, there's no, well,
I don't know. Here's some sleepers, man. Will Dissly has a good matchup against Baltimore this week. That seems like that would be a great sleeper play if you can get him. Jatavian Sanders of Carolina has a good matchup against KC. So, maybe one of those guys as a sleeper And Freiermuth has a good catch. I don't know what's going on with Freiermuth, man. I don't know why he's not getting a damn thing on that offense.
I don't get it. I don't get
Like
it.
2 targets, 3 targets. What is the issue, man? He is better than that. He deserves 5 or 6 targets a game. I don't know why he's not getting it, but he's got a good matchup this week. I think I'm going to have to start him because I think we were talking about Ferguson being out. I think I have both Ferguson and Freiermuth, so I think I'm going to have to start Freiermuth this week, which doesn't thrill me, but at least he's got a good matchup.
I think Theo Johnson, a good matchup this week as well, could be a sleeper. You never know. DeVito could gravitate to him. You never know. Or it could not, right? Like, we just don't know what Danny DeVito is going to do. I guess I call him Danny DeVito because that's the only
Danny DeVito. Yep.
I grew up with Danny DeVito, and that's what I'm calling him. I don't care. There's no Tommy DeVito. All I know is Danny. Go watch Batman Returns, okay? If you don't know who that is. he's Oswald Cobblepot.
Just go watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. There's your Danny DeVito right there.
Yeah. Or Twins. Now we're really aging ourselves, Jim.
There you go. Yes.
Twins came out.
Or you know what's a great movie with Danny DeVito? Ruthless People. Did you ever see that movie from the 80s?
No.
It's by the same guys that did Airplane, that parody parody disaster film. Ruthless People. It has Bette Midler and Danny DeVito. It's freaking hilarious. It's really funny. So I recommend that to the listeners out there.
Okay. Or watch Twins. If Twins is a guaranteed must.
Twins is great. And you know what? Twins takes place in Santa Fe, where I live.
Oh, it does. I didn't know that.
That's where they go. They go to Santa Fe. So it's like, hey.
So when Arnold is tipping that car and driving it sideways, that's probably somewhere locally. You got to go back and see where that was filmed. Remember where he's driving the car and he kind of drives it sideways? That plaza was probably.
I don't remember that scene, but there is a scene where both of them are walking down the street. They take their jackets off and they both sling their jackets over their shoulder in the same way. That's right on the plaza. That's the cathedral, the St. Francis Cathedral. And that's just right there downtown Santa Fe, right by the plaza. So
we'll have to reenact that. We'll have to get together and do that.
There you go. But yeah, Twins is great. I love that movie.
All right, let's go to defenses here. The optimal defenses here that have good matchups. Texans, Broncos versus Vegas. Love that matchup. Coming off a 13-point Broncos. Steelers versus Cleveland. I like that, but Cleveland can put up points sometimes, Buccaneers versus the Giants.
Versus the Giants. Oh, yeah.
Against Danny DeVito. Unless Danny DeVito comes out and has the game of his life. I mean, we don't know.
He could, but, they're actually a good defense. So, and Washington, too. Actually, I got to see because I put in a bid for Washington for one of my leagues this week. I hope I got him because I love that matchup against Dallas.
Dolphins at home versus New England is not bad. Cardinals versus Seattle, not really. Bears versus Minnesota could be good, and Chiefs versus Carolina could be good as well.
Oh, yeah.
That's interesting. So those take a picture, it'll last longer, like the old saying, and there's some good defenses for you. So that's it, man. Starts and sits, fantasy football week 12. Get my sports pick because I know a lot of people are shifting out of fantasy football and going into the bets now as fantasy football is kind of winding down, but we'll keep you covered here for fantasy sports and anything latest news and notes and breaking. I'll keep you guys in the loop. I'll kind of cover those trending stories. Jim, anything else you want to add for anybody going into week 12? It's here.
I don't think so, man. Just keep winning. Get yourself in the position for the playoffs. All you got to do is just make the playoffs. That's all you need to do, and then you can win. So no matter where you are right now, just win. Everybody probably has 3 weeks left. You win your last 3 games, you got a shot. So there you go.
Well, why don't we ask one more person any last minute news and notes or advice he wants to give to him? Hey, Breaking Brad, any advice to everybody going into week 12? Let's hear what he has to say.
We now have breaking news.
There you go. Hopefully that helps you. He doesn't have much to say, does he, Jim, that guy?
He's just a man of few words.
Okay. All right, guys, subscribe, smash it, tap it, slap it, and Fantasy Football Week 12. Go line up and smash it. We'll talk soon, guys. We're out.